Hey Trail Summit, this is Casey Hanchu. This is my converted 15 passenger van. So basically when I bought the van, it was a full 15 passenger van with seats all the way to the back. And we wanted to seat 5 in case we wanted to bring friends with us. Right now it's just me and my wife and our dogs. By doing it this way, having the seat here, we have room for our dogs up front and then our bed in the back. We didn't drill any holes in the floor except for the one for one of the battery cables. It's all the factory seat mounts, and then the bed frame bolts to all the factory nuts on the floor. For the fridge, I just built this little box for the fridge, and then this is a Genesis off-road dual battery universal kit. And essentially what it does is you start the van and it charges the starting battery, and then it switches and charges this battery, and they connect. It'll run our fridge in 90-degree heat for a day and a half, 2 days before we even have to start. I was gonna add solar to it, but when we use the van, we like to travel and explore, so it always charges the batteries, and I've never needed to add solar. Then we have our porta potty, and if the weather's bad, we have enough room to come sit in here and play some games. Dogs sit on the floor, and it works for us. For window shades, when we're camping, we just pop up the solar. Takes a few minutes, but gives us privacy, and then when it's hot out, it keeps the sun out of the van. It's really simple and quick. So I bought it from it was an older gentleman from Seattle area. He bought it for taking his grandkids up to the mountains in the Blue Mountains. So he would load his 12 or 13 grandkids, I think it was, up and drive from Seattle to the Blue Mountains, and they needed the 4-wheel drive for the cabin, obviously in the winter. It's got a Quadvan 4x4 conversion on it from Portland. I have the sticker price on it. I called up the owner of Quadvan, and he sent me the invoice. It was roughly a $17,000 conversion, but I bought it already done, so I didn't have to pay that cost. I bought this for mid-30s with around 45,000 miles on it. It's got about 60 now, and then I did all the stuff to it myself. The most expensive part of the conversion was probably the dual battery itself. The batteries are kind of expensive, but I wanted them to be high quality batteries so we didn't have to worry about it. And then the system itself runs around, I can't remember exactly, but I want $400 or $500 for the system with the smart isolator and everything in it. One of the really cool features about it though is that it does have a self jump starting button. So if we ever do drain our starting battery, you click the button and you can self jump start yourself. So for the back, I really wanted something really simple. We got all our camping gear for the beach in here right now, so it's kind of messy, but there's just 4 bolts that hold the bed frame in. It's kind of heavy. I kind of overkilled on the steel, but it's very easy. I loaded it by myself, and you can take it out by myself. I haven't taken it out, but it'd be very easy to go back to a cargo van if you wanted to. The bed is really, I just bought I think it's a 5-inch foam mattress off of Amazon, and then I just sawzalled it to the length of my bed. It would be easy to modify the length of the bed, but you'd have to modify the mounts for the seat and do a custom seat mount. I wanted that seat in that spot so we'd have the space up front, and me and my wife aren't very tall. I'm 5'8", I think, so this bed is just about the right height for me. And then with the pop-out windows that I put in, it gives you an extra 3 or 4 inches for your feet to go into at night when you're sleeping. It's really comfy. Me and my wife always sleep really good while we're camping. And then with the way I built it, I don't have them in here right now, but there's it fits a couple totes. Those Costco black and yellow totes fit under here. Camp stove, propane tank, everything you need. The sides are really good for things like chairs, and our gazebo fits on the sides. And then all the big bulky stuff fits in the middle. And then obviously you got all the space up top if you got a bunch of extra gear. Our dog likes to sleep up on the bed while we're driving down the road. Makes it kind of hairy, but other than that, no complaints from us. As far as the bed frame itself, it's just some angle iron and then some square tubing. And me and my buddy, he just welded up. I by no means I would consider myself a welder, but It works, and it's really stout. It's not going anywhere. The bolts themselves just bolt to the factory nuts from the seat mounts. So just washers and a lock nut, tighten down, and they've stayed tight. I haven't had to tighten them at all. It's really simple, and doing it this way, you can leave all your factory walls, your factory ceiling. Like you don't have to modify and do anything special to the van to do a conversion like this. It just makes it that much simpler. And the pop-out windows is how we get our ventilation. We have mesh bug screens that we magnet to the outside of the windows when we're parked, and then there's also the front windows, so we can roll down our front windows fully and have the bug screens so we get airflow through the van. I had plans to do a lot more to it, and the one big thing would be ventilation that would probably be next on the list is a roof vent or some sort of fan to keep the air moving, because when it is completely calm at night, that's the one time where it's not the best. But if there's any sort of breeze at all, and if it's not too warm out, it's completely comfortable in the van. And we've slept down to pretty low temperatures as well. I bought one of those Mr. Buddies, the little ones, but it just puts out too much moisture with the dogs and us. And without ventilation, the moisture builds up. So that's again where the ventilation would kick in and help out a lot. All right, so the wheels and tires are just from the conversion from what Quadvan does. They're Cooper. They're metric, but they work out to be about 33s. In the back, they run a spacer because they use the stock rear axle, and then the F350 front axle in the front, they don't use a spacer. So the spacer makes it so they have the same track width. Me personally, if I was going to swap wheels and tires, I would get something with more offset. Just so they stick out a little bit more. It's more my style. But other than that, it's good to go. We've taken it off road, we've taken it on the beach, we've taken it in the snow. It gets around pretty good. We're selling it. We're actually moving to Colorado, and we're trying to get a house that we're going to be in for 10 to 15 years. So any money for a down payment that we can get is what we're hoping for right now. We really love the van, and the original plan was to add a pop top to it so it would sleep 4. Right now it only sleeps the 2 of us and our dogs, and that's kind of why we're selling it, for the biggest reason. One of the other things was the 5.4 struggled a little bit in Colorado at the high elevations, only on the really high elevation freeways. That's when I would notice the power, and then we also want to be able to tow a Jeep or a side-by-side. If I wasn't towing a Jeep or a side-by-side, a re-gear and a tune would be perfect for this thing, and it would be good to go. But I want to be able to tow a Jeep. I've always been into Jeeps, and living that close to Moab, I can't not have a Jeep. So this thing would struggle a little bit towing a Jeep over the Rockies. So that's a big selling point as well. And if I'm not going to keep something forever, it makes sense to sell it before we move to get the cash for the move. So that's why we're selling. Other than those 2 things, we'd probably keep this thing for forever. All right, thanks for checking out my converted passenger van.
We have always been curious about the exact process behind a conversion of a van such as this. After we said goodbye to Casey, I wanted to dig a little deeper into the costs and what really goes on behind turning a 2-wheel drive passenger van into a fully equipped 4-wheel drive off-road camping rig. I started off with a look at the Northwest Quadvan conversion website, which deals with many conversions and rigs such as these and is based out of Portland, Oregon. They gave a great representation of what your van could look like and where it could explore after a conversion. It also clearly laid out a super cool backstory as to how their company came about and what their mission is for today. Pricing was next up on the list, and so we filled out a couple questions as it outlined how much a conversion could be on multiple different makes and models of vans that we see on the roads today. Overall, we were super impressed with how easy it can be to make a dream rig like Casey's be a reality, and a spark was definitely ignited behind the whole process of the conversion from a 2-wheel drive to a 4-wheel drive rig, and the more in-depth mechanics behind that.